it's very much important for a person to have a CV, because that would give the person, like the interviewer or anyone,
Mhm.
a good overview of what they are as a person, their skills, and their experiences.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So it's, as you said, it's like a one page or maybe even two-page document about who you are as a person, and it gives the other person, let's say, something to know before they even meet you. So absolutely spot on. Anyone else wants to add something to it? Yes. So Nurain says that it's important to introduce ourselves to your recruiters to give them about an idea about who you are. Yes, to showcase what you bring to the table. Absolutely. Yes, it represents your CV, your achievements, skills, interests, strengths, weaknesses. All are absolutely right. So of course, no brainer is basically a CV is used for your job applications or even for your internship applications. But what you may not know, or a lot of students may not know, is that it becomes a very important document when you're applying for your higher education abroad. So especially for your masters, for those of you who are planning for your masters right after your bachelor's. So jumping right into it. So most of you are actually here because you, primarily for three reasons. One, that you know that you need your CV or you want to improve your CV. uh, of course you're here, so you're willing to make an effort to do it. And third is that you want to know from someone who's actually done it before. So if you fall into any of these three categories, then this workshop is absolutely perfect for you. And that's why I welcome you to making your CV basically standing out. So I will give you a quick introduction about who I am. So I'm also a fellow, uh, graduate from University of Delhi, like you, all of you. I actually did my bachelor's from Shahid Sukhdev College of Business Studies. Then I went on to pursue my master's from a top French B school. And most presently, I am the founder of AdmitX. So AdmitX is a one-stop solution for everyone who's planning to study abroad. We are a full-service admissions consultancy. Uh, I have personally, so at the time of my applications, I actually did everything by myself, and I've also helped hundreds of students since then. So I know exactly what universities and as well as companies are looking for in your CV. Finally, we at AdmitX are also trying to make an effort to make studying abroad much more affordable through our own Launchpad scholarship, which I will tell you a bit more about towards the end. So let's jump right into it. So, maybe we'll start really from the basics. So a CV is important for three reasons, and as you all already pointed out, it is basically a one page introduction, which gives the other person a brief idea about what kind of academic and professional life you've led so far. It also builds a strong case for how good of a fit you are for that particular job or that particular course that you're applying for. And finally, it helps them sort of assess or make a judgment whether you would be a right fit for the program or right fit for the job or not. And I'm pretty sure that all of you already have a CV, but uh, you know there are a lot of common mistakes that many students make while crafting their CV, which can sort of hamper your applications. And one major one of them is that actually you don't need a picture in your CV. And I know this may sound counterintuitive, or if you have a picture on your CV, I would strongly recommend removing it, because it is not generally the norm. But I have some more tips and tricks for you to follow. So we will quickly talk about three tweaks that you can immediately make CV and strengthen it significantly. And some of these might seem a bit basic, but if you do it right, then it can have a big impact. So the first one is that you're maybe not using the right vocabulary or the right language in your CV. So for example, are you still using words like I participated in two competitions, or I participated in this competition, or I did X in this internship? Those sentences are not very impactful, whereas you should aim to use more action verbs. So what are action verbs? These are basically words that convey a lot of action or things that you've actually done. So instead of just saying did, you can say that you improved, let's say, processes, or you can say that you handled society responsibilities, or you can say that you documented processes. These words can really make a big difference. The list that you see on your screen is very, very small, and it is very representative. but we have a much longer list of more than 200 such words which you can add in your CV accordingly. And ideally, you should start most bullet points with an action verb. The second is that actually most CVs are not well structured. So I have personally seen CVs where the name and the introduction section takes up maybe half the page, and maybe something as basic as education or even internships is missing. So I'm just going to give you a list of key sections that you can include in your CV. So for example, you start with the personal information, then you give maybe a 1 or 2 line summary about who you are or what kind of job or internship you're looking for. Then of course you give details of your education, your work experience, maybe relevant, let's say academic or professional projects you might have completed. And then additionally, so the last 5 sections, which are certifications, your extracurriculars like societies, any student clubs, your awards and achievements, your hard skills, soft skills, languages. These are things like adding a picture is a big no-no due to local regulations. You should also pay attention to using the American English, the British English, or even the Australian English. And US, for example, tends to be much more inclined towards extracurriculars and work experience. So that's how you can make small tweaks according to the country you're applying to. These changes will not take you long. You will hardly be able to make these changes within 15 minutes, but it can really pay off in the long run. All right. So if you've made these three critical edits to your CV, then you're almost there. You're not fully there, but you're almost there. But we have, let's say, a couple of extra resources to help you. So we at AdmitX have already created a 20-page CV guide, which basically explains everything I've told you in much more detail, plus also a lot of other things which I have not covered here, but which can be extremely beneficial for you for your applications or even for your job applications. So make sure that we'll make sure that you all of you receive it at the end of the seminar. And finally, we will also give you a free template that we actually use for all of our clients. So it's a tried and tested template. It works for 90% of all cases, and it includes all the important sections that I explained before. So you just need to input your details and your university. And once you get an admit, then basically that's the time when you get access to the scholarship. And here we are talking about our own scholarship, and I will just spend 2 more minutes on that. So at AdmitX, as I told you before, so we have launched our own scholarship program, which is a guaranteed scholarship for all students who want to study abroad. The maximum amount of scholarship that you can get is up to 2 lakhs based on your merit, and this is applicable for all students and all major countries that you're planning to apply to. So this is really something that is on top of any scholarships that you might get externally. So even if your university gives you a scholarship of 20% or 30%, that's absolutely, that's excellent, but you get up to 2 lakhs on top of it from AdmitX. How does this work? So there are basically 3 steps. You apply for the scholarship by filling out a simple form. Then we help you throughout the entire application journey, and you get an admit from your dream university. And then as soon as you enroll in the course, you get the scholarship directly from us. And this is not in form of any gift bags or any, let's say, Amazon coupons. This is directly in form of a bank transfer to your bank account. So if you have any questions, please, I'll open the floor now, or you can, of course, take down my contact details. Feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to, engage in specific questions and answer more specific questions if you have more targeted questions. But maybe we can spend, 5 minutes on an FAQ round, and feel free to unmute yourself with the question or even type it in the chat. Yes, please, Noreen, please go ahead.
Hi. So my question is, how do you define the difference between a CV and a resume?
Mhm. So CV and resume are actually used interchangeably. A resume is typically much longer, so it is up to 2 to 3 pages, and it also includes other information such as your references. Whereas a CV is meant to be much more concise. It is usually one page long. Yes, Rohini.
Hi. So, my question is that a problem that I'm sure a lot of people face is how do you fit everything into one page? Because there's so much to mention. And when I was making my own CV, it was over and over spilling over to the next page. And it was really hard for me to concise it in that sort of manner. So, if
Mhm.
you can speak on this, please.
Yes, that's a very common problem, and actually something that I faced as well when I was making my CV long back. But something that you need to first of all understand and make a decision on is what is the most critical piece of information that you want to emphasize. So if it is, let's say, your internship, then maybe spend more time on your internship and less time on other things like extracurriculars or skills. And you have to be absolutely brutal and remove any unnecessary information as possible. If you want, I can, I'm more than happy to have a look at your CV and maybe make more targeted suggestions on your CV, and maybe give you some ideas on how you can cut down on space.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
All right. I think someone else had a question as well. I think it was Pari, right?
Yes. Okay. So basically, my question is that how much detail can we go about our extracurricular activities and like our volunteer work? Like, how in depth should we go, or should we just mention it?
So usually it is common for college students to spend maybe 2 to 3 bullet points on each extracurricular. That's only if you have 1 to 2 societies that if you're explaining. If you have more, then you probably have to decide. But maybe you only have space for maybe 1 or 2 bullet points each. But at the same time, if you're also putting in internships as well as academic projects, then you maybe have to sacrifice some space, and you maybe only have 1 or 2 bullet points left, but most students spend maybe 2 to 3 bullet points. All right. So Kanishka has a question that when should we apply for the scholarship? So the application is actually automatic. They taught it, you're automatically applied once you start the application process for the universities. And as soon as you get an admission offer and you enroll into the program, that's when the scholarship is disbursed to you. I hope that answers your question. Yes, Noreen.
Hi, I have one more question. So when I drafted my CV, what one section that I included right in the beginning was my objective, where I mentioned exactly what kind of. So I'm a science student.
Mhm.
So I'm often looking for internship or research opportunities in labs with professors. So
Mhm.
what I mentioned in my objective was my particular field of interest and why it interests me and what kind of learning opportunities or lab opportunities I would like to have particularly. So that's about almost one good paragraph, about 100 words of an objective. So do you recommend putting something like that in a CV, or should I just put it in emails when I send them over?
Mhm. So it can be a good idea to put it at the top because, of course, that's the first thing that the reader will read. But I honestly think that 100 words is actually too much, because you would be surprised to know that most people only spend 1 to 2 minutes scanning through a CV. So they definitely won't spend a lot of time reading that whole paragraph. So try to condense that within 1 to 2 sentences at the max, and actually leave that. Don't feel the urge to explain everything in that paragraph, because if you're able to speak to the professor personally, then of course you can give them much more details. But ideally, your objective should not be longer than 1 to 2 sentences.
Sure, thank you.
All right. So does anyone else have any other questions? All right. So Aditi asks, college society experiences enhance our CV. Yes, absolutely. Uh, in fact, if I were to make my CV today, I would still include my college societies, because they first of all, display a different personality or different side of your personality. It shows that you're not just engaged in academics or internships or professional work experience, but you've been passionate about other things as well. It also gives you a chance to talk about different interest areas. So for example, if you're interested in social media and you want to work in social media, but you don't have any experience, so college societies can be an excellent way to explain that, since you can say that you manage the social media accounts of your college society, delivered X and Y results, and that can actually be a great icebreaker for the interview. Yes, Muskan.
Okay, so I wanted to ask, what keywords can I include in my CV, and how can I find them for a specific job?
So you mean keywords for applying for a particular job? Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I don't think that's really important, but I will maybe go back to the slide around action verbs. So these are some words that you can sort of use to explain, or let's say put more emphasis on what you've actually achieved or what you've done so far. But if you're applying for a very very specific job, then you can go through the job description. You can even try to speak to a few industry professionals, see what kind of terminology is usually used, and see if it naturally fits. Don't try to stuff it just for the sake of it, because of course interviewers will cross question you on it. But if you think it fits naturally, then you can include a few buzzwords. Don't include too many, because then it can, interviewers can easily tell whether it was just included for the sake of it. All right. So Aditi has a follow-up question where, which society is best for you to join? So Aditi, actually, there's no best society, because I would say that it really matters on what you've delivered or what you've achieved in your tenure there. So whether it is, let's say your current e-cell or any other society, whether it is an NGO, doesn't really make a big difference. But if you've played a significant part in its activities, if you have actually worked there, or if you have actually have interest in the subject matter, then it makes a big difference. So I would say that there's no perfect answer to that question. Okay, so Poonam has a question: how we can explain or how we can write our SOP. So excellent question. Actually, we are planning to host a dedicated webinar on writing an SOP. So if there are enough students interested in this, then we can maybe talk to the organizers again and organize it in the coming week or so. Otherwise, Poonam, you feel free to reach out individually. Uh, take you can take my contact details, and I can speak to you personally about your recipe and your particular applications.
Thank you, sir, for an informative session. I'm sure we all gained insightful sessions to enhance our application. Thanks to everyone for joining and have a great evening.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
sir.